what we do is work for two sets of clients. One is what we call payers, other is providers. Payers are health insurance companies in the US. These are large corporations and all they do is health insurance, or most of what they do is health insurance. And when we say providers, these are entities that provide some sort of care to the patient, right? So they could be hospitals, they could be physician groups, they could be lab companies, radiology companies, durable medical equipment companies, and so on. So those are the two constituents that we work for. And while Sagility is a little less than 3 years old, the underlying business is about 24 years old. So just going back in history, Sagility was previously the healthcare division of Hinduja Global, which then got carved out end of 21, beginning of 22, and made a separate entity called Sagility. And so the company has been in the business of healthcare, US healthcare, for 24 years. And within the payer space, we work with 5 of the top 10 payers in the US. So these are very large insurance companies. And 3 of these 5 relationships are very long-standing relationships, and that's something that's very unique to the company. So if you look at the top 5 clients of ours, the average tenure with us is about 17 years. So very, very long tenured, sticky relationships. Not only that, these top 5 clients continue to grow at a very healthy rate even today. Even after 17 years, if you look at the FY24 numbers, the top 5 clients grew at over 10%. So that's very something that we are very proud of. Sticky relationships, long tenured relationships, and relationships that still continue to grow. I'll cover a little more detail on what we do, but the key point to note is the work that we do is not a discretionary spend for our clients. So it's not something that is dependent on how the client is doing. So what we do is core operations for our clients. So essentially clients have to get this work done, whether it's good times or bad times. So what that means for us is the revenues for us are very predictable, right? So because we help them handle the day-to-day operations. And for a payer, we support them on almost all their functions. So, and I'll talk about this in a little more detail. But if you think of an insurance company and all the things that it needs to do, we kind of support them in every function that they have to do. For provider, what we do is something called revenue cycle management, which is around helping providers collect money from insurance companies, make sure that the services that they provide are converted to bills and so on. If you look at a revenue split, 90% comes from payers and 10% comes from providers. There's a lot of technology that we use in our business, but unlike an IT service company, we don't go to market for billing for our technology capabilities. We embed the technology in the operational work that we do. So ultimately, all of the technology is used in delivering operational service for the client. Very large-scale operations. If you look at our operations, we have over 30,000 people. We operate from 5 different countries. We have multiple locations in each of these countries. Obviously, they were all physical locations pre-COVID. Now there is a healthy mix of work from home and work from office. And India, Philippines, these are our offshore geographies. We also deliver from the US, and then we have centers in Jamaica and Colombia, which is closer to the US. Like Gautam mentioned, our financial profile is very attractive. We've grown between 12 and 14% over the last few years. And our EBITDA margins have also been consistent between 23 and 25%. And analysts who track healthcare services companies like us, they rate us very highly. So we always feature in one of the top quadrants in all of their research reports. So quick idea of the market. US healthcare is a very large market. So for those of you who don't know, the size of the healthcare spending in the US is $4.7 trillion. I mean, that's a number which is larger than the GDP of India. So it's a very large market. And not only that, it's about 17% of the US GDP, and it's growing faster than the GDP. So the estimates are to become 18% of the GDP in the next 4 to 5 years. So it's a very, very large industry in the US. And not only that, if you look at the graph on the right, the per capita, per head spend on healthcare in the US is roughly $12,500, right? So and that's the largest in the world. The next highest country is less than, US is almost 50% greater than the next highest country. And if you compare that to a country like ours, India, where the average per capita spend on healthcare is $74, right? So huge spend per head